Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us today. Welcome back to the NWR Security Tech Virtual Investor Conference. On the call today, we've got Prophecy CEO Brad Thomas. I'll pass you across in a moment to Brad to kick off our discussion of Prophecy. Today, we'll have a presentation from Brad, followed by an opportunity for Q&A. If you'd like to ask a question during the call, please type it into the Q&A panel in the Zoom app. So to kick things off, I'll hand over now to Prophecy CEO Brad Thomas. Go ahead, Brad.
Thanks, Tim, and welcome everyone. Great to have everyone on the call, and as always, love talking about the business and how we're going in the markets that we operate in. Speaking to Tim just a few minutes earlier, and it is a funny time of year to really have these presentations. So really the focus today for me is going to be more on our business and the markets that we operate in, to give you some color around where we operate and what we do, and the problems that we solve for our customers. So for those of you that know Prophecy will know this slide, but for newcomers, we are a pure play B2B, B2G software and SaaS company. We have a couple of different products, and I'm probably going to focus more on Snare, which is our cyber product today. But we do have to touch on our Emite product as well. As a company, we operate truly globally. We have offices in Sydney and Adelaide being head office. We have our own subsidiaries in the Philippines, in the UK, servicing our European customers, and in the US. And we have over 80% of our revenue. In fact, last financial year, I think it was just on 85% of our revenue from international markets. So most of our customers are offshore. And we are exporting Australian technology to the world. And in fact, last year, we were the co-winners of the Austrade National Exporter of the Year for Advanced Technologies, a fact that we are very proud of. So Prophecy has been around for a long while. We'll talk about the timeline in a minute, but been operating for more than 40 years. And the two companies, the two products that we have were acquired over the last 10 years or so. From a business perspective, again, been listed for a long time, listed since the 97-98 financial year. Stock price has done quite well in the last little while. I think we're at 90 cents this morning with about a $66 million market cap. But I still think you look at our results, and when the results come out in the next few weeks, I think that's actually pretty good buying. So if you have a look at our register, about 30% of our register is institutions, about 35% is retail, and the remainder is insiders. We've got a number of really good institutions that are on the register, and we thank them for their support. And they've been with it. Most of those have been with us for some time, which is terrific. From a business perspective, as I said, Prophecy, the business, has been around in a number of guises. Really since 1979, 1980. Prophecy changed its name in 1980 and has been operating globally with a number of different products over the years. Those products kind of went their own way. We either sold them off or they just reached end of life. And in fact, if you've been watching our books for a while, you would have seen a legacy revenue line in the books, and that line will finish this year, never to reappear again. So that's one that's completely gone now. And the two businesses that we have, the two product lines that we have, is Snare from Intersect Alliance, which was acquired in 2011, and Emite, which was acquired in 2015. And I think generally one of the challenges I think the stock might have is that the fact that the company has been around for so long and has been listed for so long. And I think people often see the ticker and go, oh yeah, I know Prophecy, they're a legacy software product company. And they think they know what we're doing, and in many cases they actually don't. So the business has gone through a very significant transition over the last 6 years since I joined the company in about 2017. Took over CEO in 2017. So in the last little bit of the timeline, you can see that the business divested a number of non-performing product lines back in 2017 as I joined. And then from there, there's a number of very significant milestones. We signed our our largest annual subscription deal with Humana in 2021. However, we have just beaten that deal from a total contract value with the recent signing of the Services Australia contract with Optus. So that's one to add on to the timeline for this year. The last 2 years, we've achieved record revenue for the group, 16.4 and 19.6 in 22 and 23. We expect that trend will continue in 24, not wanting to preempt any of our results. And then we've also released a number of significant product updates, both on Snare and on eMite. A very notable one is our integration platform as a service on the eMite side, which I think is really the first indicator of how these two product lines can potentially come together over time, because at their heart, they are both data products, and I'll talk a bit more about that as we get through the presentation. And as I said, last year, we were the National Export Award winner for advanced technologies. In fact, we co-won that with Audinate. One of the reasons that I joined the company, and one of the things I'm incredibly proud of the fact that we've been able to continue, is our ability to sign some of the largest customers and names that you know around the world on a consistent basis over the last 4 or 5 years. If you look at the brands on our brag deck slide there, from everything from ATO and Services Australia here in federal government to Macy's, Charles Schwab, Humana, UPS, the NFL, QBE, Goldman Sachs, Lion Breweries here in Australia. We signed some of the largest customers around the world, and really that's our focus markets are really on mid to large corporates globally, particularly in mature markets, and we'll talk more about the individual targets as we get into the products, but also government, military and defence, particularly with the Snare product, and much more so in regulated industry. And if you look at those customers that are Snare customers on their list, like NFL and QBE, Amex, NTT, Schwab, often there is a very strong regulatory compliance mandate that we're helping those customers address. And we'll talk more about that as we get into the details. So the markets that we serve with eMite and Snare are massive and growing. The total addressable market is very, very substantial. I'm going to focus a little bit more on Snare today than on eMite. eMite is probably further through that transition and journey to SaaS and subscription, and Snare is still making its way through that process. But the markets that we operate in with Snare are very, very substantial. So we're a data collection company, and we're what we call ourselves a security data engine that drives data collection and analysis for customers and helps them achieve regulatory compliance. And we'll talk about a number of those in a minute. But the log management, the log collection, the data collection market is a $4 billion market globally, and we have a significant role to play in the broader security analytics or security incident and event management market, which has undergone a pretty substantial shake-up in the last month or two. And I'll probably talk a little bit more about that as we get through the slides. That market is massive and growing, and that market is really focused on customers searching for threats and managing their security operations, and really looking at real time in what's happening inside their environment to detect anomalies. I think even in the last week, you've seen an announcement from the ASD around ATP 40, which is an advanced persistent threat coming from Chinese state actors, where they get into networks and they slowly work their way through those network systems looking for high value information, which can be taken or sold or stolen. And the only way you can really detect those advanced persistent threats is by monitoring all of the activity in your environment. Generally, I talk about cybersecurity at a very high level as two kinds of solutions. There are perimeter solutions designed to keep the bad guys out. But once the bad guys get in, you've got to be monitoring the activity inside your network to be able to detect the fact that they are in there, and you can answer the question, who got in, how did they get in, what did they see, what did they take, what did they change, how bad is it? And that's what Snare does. It's part of the data collection stack that helps customers answer those questions. We have a very small percentage of this market, and this market is very fragmented. There are a number of large players in the security analytics market at the top of that market, and then there are hundreds of players below that, all of us fighting for share in that market space. Actually, before I jump onto what eMight does, I might talk a little bit more about this market. I think one of the things that you may have noticed in the last few months is some consolidation in that security analytics and C market. And it probably started quite a few months ago with Cisco acquiring Splunk. And that certainly shook up that market. And then in the last, probably since RSA conference, the last 2 months, you've seen Logarithm and Exabeam announce that they are going to merge. And you've also seen IBM QRadar and Palo Alto IBM effectively selling all of their cloud customers to Palo Alto. So there is a lot of uncertainty in this market. There is a lot of change. There is a significant amount of legacy on-prem players trying to move to a cloud or SaaS-based solution. There are a lot of new SaaS-based security analytics players in the market. We have partnerships with some of those. I'll talk about that more shortly. But there's a lot of uncertainty. And one of the things that Snare does is enables customers to have a vendor agnostic data collection capability, which enables them to change from one vendor to another effectively painlessly. And that's a very big part of our value proposition. But I think the one thing I want to leave you with is this is a very dynamic and changing market, and that means there's a significant amount of opportunity for Snare in that market. Now, I'm going to talk quickly about eMight as we go through this presentation, but I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it today. There are a number of presentations online that you can see from me talking about eMight in much more detail. But, as I said, at their heart, both of these products are data products. And I'll quickly run through eMight before we talk about Snare in more detail. So eMight collects data and makes it available for analysis and reporting in the CX market space. And like Snare, we're pulling data from multiple different places, multiple different endpoints. A customer might have multiple applications they're using to deliver CX. And that could be, the contact center software, it could be CRM, service desk, chatbots, IVR, sentiment, workforce management, surveys, and all of that data is disconnected and fragmented. And we collect all that, we normalize it, and we make it available for analysis. So very similar in that data collection and normalization space to what we do with Snare in the security space. And I think one of the important things that we have done with eMight in the last 12 months is delivered an integration platform as a service capability. So what does that mean, you ask? It basically enables us to very quickly connect to any SaaS-based application. Most of the industry uses REST APIs, they use Auth 2.0 authentication, and they use JSON as a way to send that data to various different places. Probably 85–90% of the industry uses those standard tools, and we can now connect, integrate, extract data, manipulate that data, and normalize that data effectively on the fly using our integration platform as a service capability. And while today that is very focused on the CX market space, we're already investigating how we can use that same technology on the Snare space. If you'd asked me a few years ago, are these businesses ever going to come together? I probably would have said no. But as we move more and more into cloud native and microservices based architectures, there is an opportunity for us to leverage the IP from both of our product sets, into the other, and expand our total addressable market as a result. Here's an example of a customer where we're using our integration platform to talk to multiple different technology platforms. So Just Eat Takeaway, multi-billion-dollar conglomeration of food delivery business based out of Europe and the Netherlands. I think this is the Menulog parent company for those that use Menulog in Australia. And as you can see by all these boxes, they've got 4 instances of Calabrio, which is a workforce management tool, and 3 Playbox instances, which is around chat, 3 Salesforce CRM instances, 7 instances of Zendesk, including things like CRM and chat and ticketing. And then TalkDesk is their contact center as a service platform, and they've got 8 instances of that. And all of that data up until we came along was completely disconnected, and getting an end-to-end view of everything that was happening in their environment was effectively impossible at a price point that you could afford without spending years manually integrating all of those platforms together. So being able to talk to all of those different endpoint applications and be able to normalize that data and make it available for analysis is what we do with Emite, but it's also what we do with the Snare business. And I'll talk a bit more about that as we get to Snare. So Snare does many similar things to Emite in that it collects data from a huge number of disparate systems with different data formats and different amounts of data. So, we're the security data engine that feeds a security analytics platform or a security monitoring or SIEM solution. And why do we do that? Because collecting that data is hard. I was at the RSA conference just a month ago, and one of the comments that was made was that everybody's got a dashboard, but nobody's got the data. And our job is to get the data. And why do you need that data? You need it for compliance, forensics, threat hunting, alerting, reporting, and searching for critical information in your systems. There's a whole range of compliance mandates, whether that's the ISO standards or the NIST standards or PCI DSS or HIPAA or NERC, and a whole range more that require companies and agencies to collect this information and to keep it for many years in a pristine condition, particularly if you want to or need to use that data in any kind of legal environment, or it's evidence that you're going to be using in court or in any kind of litigation. Also, the new critical infrastructure reporting regulations, as well as a number of other security policies for government around the world, requires this data to be collected and stored for a very, very long time. And that's what we do. You can store data affordably in Snare for as long as you need it, and some of these compliance mandates need you to keep it for up to 12 years, which is not something that a security analytics product is typically good at. They're good at the real-time analysis, but they're not great at the forensics and the long-term storage. So what does Snare do? We collect data from physical endpoints, and that could be Windows servers and desktops, Linux servers, Unix, Mac OS X, and I'm quite comfortable in saying that we have the most comprehensive endpoint agent technology on the market, but we also collect from databases, from network devices that are generating syslog information. We collect it from cloud API logs for things like OCI, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or AWS, or Azure, or Office 365, or Salesforce. And we also collect performance data from those devices as well that enable customers to look at how a physical endpoint is performing. Is it using too much memory? Is it using too much processor? How effective is that? And then we have a range of tools and technologies in the middle tier, which help customers manage the security policies on those endpoints, manage the data integrity to ensure that Administrators can't change that data to hide their footprints on a service or a system. We can enrich or obfuscate that data. And then we have a data mesh capability, which enables us to send all or subsets of that data in various different formats to various different places, depending on the requirement. Because most customers don't just have a single security analytics platform, they may have multiple, and they might have multiple vendors, and they'll have a data lake or a data warehouse, and they'll have a managed security service provider looking after part of their network, and they need to send different bits of data in different formats to different places, and we enable customers to do that. And then, as I said, we have that long-term forensic storage capability. We have industry-leading compression. We're seeing storage savings of 97, 98% for some customers storing in Snare versus storing in just vanilla, AWS or Oracle or Azure, or even in a data lake. And then we also have custom reporting and alerting, out-of-the-box compliance, and the ability to forensically search back into data that you may need to look at from 6 or 12 months ago. I think the average time to detect a breach is still measured in months rather than minutes. And if you're only storing 90 days worth of your log data in a Splunk, and you were attacked 120 days ago, then you need to come back into Snare, for instance, to look at that data to work out what happened, because the data inside your SIEM solution or your security analytics solution has already been purged and new data has come in. So how are we scaling? We're scaling globally through partnerships. We have a number of direct customers as well, but really where the greatest opportunity for us is to be part of an ecosystem. And we have a number of great partnerships we've recently announced, one of which is Devo. So Devo is a player in that security analytics space. They are a cloud SIEM provider, and they have turned off their own endpoint technology and implemented Snare as the collection platform for all data for their customers. We're still at the very early stages of this partnership. We have about 100 customers in various stages of engagement and deployment. But this is a great opportunity for Snare globally. Devo have around 400 customers globally, and we expect to get the vast majority of those using Snare in some way, shape, or form, and see a very significant opportunity both with Devo and other companies in this market segment as we expand our partnerships. Carasoft in the US, another great partner for us, specialist distributor in the government, defense, and military sector. We have a number of customers in that sector around the world, including the Australian military, Australian ASD, pretty much every branch of the US military. We're in the UK, in the Navy, and the Air Force, and we have another significant opportunity with another agency in the UK now, as well as a number of other military forces around the world. So this focused distributor partnership in government and defense in the US is very significant for us. And then finally, the one I'll talk about, because I know we are starting to run out of time, is we have a global partnership with Oracle, and we are part of the Oracle co-sell program. So there are only about 40 different partners, independent software vendors, that are on the Oracle co-sell program. This program enables the Oracle sales team, the Oracle partners, to get rewarded for selling these third-party solutions. There are only 5 vendors in APAC as part of this program, and Prophecy is the only vendor from Australia in this program. Now, it's still early days, and engaging with a company the size of Oracle is a slow process and is a lot of work, but we are starting to see some really good early results around new opportunities coming into the pipeline through this relationship, and we're super excited about this. And as we continue to drive this over the next few years, I expect to see very significant revenue come from this relationship. So I know we're getting to about time, so let me sum up. Snare is our cybersecurity product. We have sold into thousands of customers around the world. We have brand names, military, defense, government agencies using Snare. both locally in the US and globally. I think we've sold Snare into more than 60 countries around the world. But as a business, it's a great contributor to a recurring revenue line for us. We are growing subscription revenues across Snare and Emite, quite nicely. We've grown revenue pretty consistently over the last 5 or 6 years. And during that term, we've also taken both of these products through that transition from perpetual licensing to subscription. We're pretty much through that now, although we will always have some perpetual licensing on Snare, simply because of the nature of those government customers. Stay tuned over the next week or two. We'll see some preliminary results come out from us in the next couple of weeks, which will have some more numbers on it. But I think I might leave it there, Tim, just so we've got some time for questions.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the presentation, Brad, and well done on bringing to fruition some of those great pipeline opportunities. So we've had a couple of questions come in from investors, so we'll dive straight in. One investor's referenced the Optus contract, which you announced a week or two ago. Just the question is, does this constitute new revenue to Prophecy, or is this renewal? Reason being, we had previously referenced Optus as a customer.
Yeah, Optus is a partner of ours, and we signed the ATO with Optus 6 months or so ago, and we're in the process of deploying that with them now. The end customer here is Services Australia, and they are an existing customer of ours through a relationship with another telco. And the end customer is changing from a legacy on-premise contact center solution to CX1 cloud-based contact center, and they're moving from one telco to another telco. So it is both a renewal and an upsell. So, we have an amount of revenue with the previous telco. We have a new larger amount of revenue with Optus in this relationship, and it's about an incremental $1.2 million per annum with this relationship. So yeah, it's a bit confusing. It's a migration from on-prem to the cloud. It's a migration from one telco to another telco, but there is a substantial incremental ARR for us with this agreement.
Excellent. A follow-on from another investor asking, further to that, how is the government agency pipeline looking now through Optus? Could we expect a substantial deal of similar size every year?
There's not many contact centers the size of Services Australia. I think they are the largest in the Southern Hemisphere, from what I understand. So no, there's not a huge amount of those agreements to be had. And in fact, we've got Services Australia, we've got the ATO, we've got Inland Revenue and the ACC in New Zealand. We've got some Singaporean government agencies using Emite. So, government is definitely a sector for us where it's one we can address with partners. It's complex and expensive to address directly. And we still haven't really made a significant impact in the federal or government market in the US yet. And that's something we've got our eyes on, but there are other fish to fry that are probably easier to fry at this point. But yeah, I think we think government in Australia and in the region is absolutely a target for us. Yeah.
That's good. And just adjacent to that, any progress with some of the defence opportunities around the world?
Yeah, look, some of that has slowed down. You may have noticed there's a couple of wars on, and that tends to stop non-shooting based activity in the militaries. There's also been a bit of how do I say, disruption from a political perspective in a number of those markets as well, which also stops people spending money. So we still have a number of opportunities in defence. There is one large one in the UK that has been delayed pretty significantly. We're still very confident on, and a number of the ones that we were in significant bids in the US have effectively just stopped. I know one of them has gone away completely. It was just withdrawn. One was awarded to a consortia that we weren't in. But it's a market that we're still very interested in. And again, we tend to leverage partners there. Carasoft is a big part of that for us in the US. And partners like Fujitsu and BAE in the UK. And we tend to do a little bit more direct here in Australia.
Yeah, that's good. And yeah, so on the snare side, one of the great points of investor excitement has come from the Devo
Yep.
relationship and the ingestion-based pricing model, which offers you good leverage. The question from an investor has been just, have you got any comment to make about the Devo client migration, the progress of there?
Yeah, look, I think the engagement with the customers has been fantastic. The engagement with Devo has been fantastic. I think it's a bit different for us in that previously with Snare, we'd sell the software and you know we really didn't care how long it took the customer to go and deploy that because that was their call, their business, their change management processes, and it really didn't have any impact on our software delivery. With the Devo relationship, we actually have to get the software deployed and generating data for us to make money out of it, and that is somewhat out of our control. We have some things we can do to help customers, but quite honestly, their change management processes internally inside the customer are really what determines how quickly that gets done. So it is slower than I would like, but I think the size and scope of the opportunity and the endorsement of Snare on a global stage is very, very critical. And there are other companies we're talking to that are like Devo as a result of that deal. So I expect that we should be able to leverage that relationship both for the customers that Devo has, but as more broadly in the market as well.
Yep, awesome. So just changing across to the Emite side, question from an investor is, are you able to discuss if there's an upsell for existing customers using iPass, or is it just an improvement of the product?
It really is both. Often customers will start with their core CCaaS platform, getting analysis they can't get from the vendor solution. So they might have Amazon Connect, or they have TalkDesk, or they have CX1. And mostly what we've done is we worked in the Amazon and the Genesis market space, but iPass enables us to expand our total addressable market. We talked about the Just Eat opportunity. That's a TalkDesk CCaaS customer. Services Australia with Optus is a CX1 CCaaS customer. So our ability to expand happens by being able to go out and talk to multiple CCaaS platforms now, rather than the two we were locked into before, not locked into, but were focused on before. But also those peripheral applications, and that's the upsell opportunity. If they've got a workforce management system that we can correlate the data with now, if they've got CRM, if they've got service desk, if they've got sentiment analysis, if they've got surveys, we start to pull that in, and that's the upsell opportunity for us in each of those customers. Often they start with just one or two data sources, and as we bring more in, we can get to sell more, and it becomes much more sticky as we do that as well.
That's ideal. Just a couple of financial questions, which, as you mentioned, funny time of year, you might not be able to go into as much detail, but questions been asked just trying to understand gross margin, net revenue retention, and how churn influences that, and do those inputs sort of lead to you growing your annualized recurring revenue once you're installed with customers?
Look, for a little business, we're actually quite complex, right? We're really running two enterprise software businesses in very different markets globally, and getting a consistent, coherent, single NRR number across the whole line is a lot of work, and quite honestly, it's more work than it's worth for me. So I'm mostly focused on getting our renewal rates to greater than 90%, and ensuring that our ARR continues to grow through net new logos being added in and upsell from our existing customers. So I'm probably less concerned about technical metrics than I am about actually selling stuff in the market and retaining our customers. Ultimately, we've got on the Emite side, our gross margins are about 85%. Really the only cogs is our hosting cost for Emite. On the Snare side, we're not hosting at all. So effectively, once you're past our fixed expenditure, you're 100% margin. So the key for us is getting to the inflection point, which should be FY25, where we're generating more revenue than our expenditure for both of those businesses, and we'll start to see leverage come in FY25 and beyond.
Yeah, that touches on another question from an investor who's noted that you're sort of on the cusp of positive EBITDA, and the question is, what should we expect overheads to do from here? Will they remain steady from this point forward? Any
God, I'd
comment on
love that. If people just stop asking for pay rises and their suppliers stop putting their prices up, that'd be awesome. But look, we're going to do record revenue again this year. You'll see the numbers come out in a few weeks. We're not content with that number. We're not content with being a $20 million business, and we'll continue to invest to grow. But we're not a growth at any price company. I think we said we'll be cash flow neutral, cash flow positive this year. We'll announce that in the next couple of weeks. We're not burning cash to grow, but we are definitely focused on continuing to grow and expand our markets globally through organic growth. We'll continue to do that. Would I like to generate an EBITDA positive number? Yes. Is that the priority? No, it's not, right? So continuing to grow top line revenue, growing ARR, not burning cash to do that. And if we manage our expenses well from here on in, and there's no unexpected changes in the macroeconomic environment, then I think we can generate an EBITDA profit in 25. But we're not going to prioritize profit over growth.
Yeah, excellent. Well, lots to look forward to there. So we've had lots of questions come in, but we're out of time, sadly, so we'll have to call it. But on behalf of the company, I'd really like to thank everyone for tuning in to the NWR Security Technology Conference today. Really appreciate your continued interest in Prophecy. If you have a question that we didn't answer today, and I know there were a few of them, please do reach out. Management will be happy to discuss further offline. We'll also make the video recording of this session available online at the NWR YouTube channel. Really looking forward to the opportunity to chat to you all again. And Brad, I might pass across to you now for any closing comments.
Oh, look, just thanks for the opportunity, Tim. It's always great to talk about the company. We're really excited and proud of what we're achieving here with Prophecy. We have large and growing addressable markets with products that have got a great product market fit, and some of the best customers that you can have on your list around the world. So thanks everyone for their support, and I still think we're pretty good buying at the price we're at the moment. So do your own research.
Good stuff. All right. Thanks, Brad.
Thanks, everyone.
Chat to you later.
Yeah.
Bye.